Hi guys, my name's Adam Hebener. I'm the CEO of Modern Mortgage, and this is today's Modern Minute. And it's been a few days since I've done a Modern Minute. I actually took some time to just be away and be with my family and feeling much more refreshed, much more excited, and certainly my optimism is growing. And so as we begin this whole process, I just want to encourage you, if you've not had a little time off to go see that the sky is still blue and the sun is still shining, cheeseburgers still taste good, friends are still wonderful, family is still precious. All those things are things that are worth your attention, maybe more than some of the other things that you're looking at. So if you're feeling a little down, feeling a little anxious, a little overwrought, all you need is a little time outside. I can tell you that from my own personal experience. But so glad to be back with you guys now, and hoping that this finds you well. I want to share with you just a couple of quick things. Number one, a report that you may not have seen indicates, written by the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, basically the central bank for central banks. And what they indicated is that just during the COVID-19 crisis, call it maybe February to nowish, some a little earlier, some a little later, global governments have created $10.8 trillion in debt, in government debt. And so that is a vast amount of public debt and something that will continue to create an overhang. Literally, if you've been following what we've been doing through the Modern Minute, then you know, we've explained to you several times, that I really believe we're currently in a deflationary, kind of what I've described as a deflationary bridge. I think that deflationary bridge takes us into an environment of inflation. And I just want to let you know, based on all the information we're seeing around us, not just in the United States, but across the globe, more and more and more information, data indicate to us that indeed we are in a deflationary phase. So, Adam, what can we expect from a deflationary phase? Well, a lot of what you're seeing right now. Stagnated gross domestic product. You'll see the price of goods drop. You'll see the price of wages stay steady and continue to go down. And you see, most importantly, an effect of debt kind of creating an overhang. Now remember, when we get debt, essentially what we're doing is pulling tomorrow's productivity into today. And so that's what all debt does. So when we pull $11 trillion of tomorrow's productivity into today, it stands to reason that we're going to have a little bit less productivity tomorrow. So that doesn't mean it's the end of the world. This is not, I am certainly not sharing that with you, but I am sharing with you that the thesis that we're using is continuing to be useful. It is continuing to communicate to us and help us understand the world around us. Now that is incredibly important, because I don't just want to be a source of sharing with you information. You can go to professional reporters, or you can just read the internet. You'll get a lot of great information. What I want to do is help you interpret so that you can live a wise life. I really believe a wise life is a better life, and that requires not that you just have lots of information coming in, but that you understand the rules by which the world and the universe itself works, so that you can make the best decisions according to wisdom. So, if we have talked about the idea that we would be in a deflationary bridge, then what kinds of information, how does this help us? Why are you sharing this with us? Well, guys, I'm sharing it with you because it's really, really important that you understand how money should be used through a deflationary period, especially when that deflationary period, in my opinion, and I think historically proven, will alternate from deflation and transition into inflation. Because I believe that's happening, I want to continue to encourage you to behave in a certain way. And that way, financially, that financial behavior would be, number one, to be very, very focused on making sure that you've got good savings, that you've got good reserves. Now, having good savings and good reserves are really, really important in this short-term bridge, despite the deflationary pressure against those savings. Believe it or not, it still makes a whole lot of sense. And as you know, we define savings as having 6 months of what it takes to run your entire life. So you look at all the costs, you pull out your bank statement, you figure out what you spend every month. If it's $5,000, you multiply that by 6 and you try to get to $30,000 as quick as you can. Now, if you're already at $30,000, or 6 months, or whatever your 6-month number is. Some of you it's only $5,000, and some of you it's $100,000. We talk to people all over the board all the time. But if you've reached that goal and you already have your 6 months, now you need to think about investing your money. Where does your money need to go? Well, it needs to go into an investment that does a few things. Some of them are obvious and some of them are kind of nuanced. It needs to protect your money. It needs to guard you from risk. It needs to be able to improve your money. And now it needs to do, that is, give you a return. And now it needs to do some things we didn't think about before. It needs to benefit from central bank pressure. So if the central banks will intervene, it needs to be a recipient of that central bank intervening. It needs to be the kind of investment that allows you to move funds into different kinds of currencies. That might be strange, something you haven't thought about before. And it needs to perform well in inflationary environments in the long term. You know, guys, I have to tell you, there's really only one investment that does that over time. And guess what? No big surprise coming from a banker. It's real estate. Real estate is the only kind of investment that has benefited substantially in a low-risk way from central bank intervention. Now, you might say, well, Adam, the stock market has done well because of central bank intervention. And certainly it has, but we cannot say that's low risk. You've got up to 50% risk to capital there, pretty substantial swings, scary, nail-biting, and the returns themselves are not that great. If you've ridden the entire way through, you're only just grinding back to what you had back in January, but you certainly had quite a nail-biter in between. Real estate, on the other hand, has gone up 5.5% over the last 12 months and stayed pretty smooth and steady through that process. Now, what happens if inflation takes off? As I have indicated that I believe history portends for us, if inflation takes over in 2 years, and if I'm wrong about the time frame, maybe it's 3 years, 4 years, when that occurs, real estate is historically one of the best places for money to be in inflationary environments because it makes your debt so easy to repay. In addition to that, remains very, very safe and remains, and this is maybe one of the most important insights in today's new investing climate, real estate remains probably the single most important target of Fed intervention. And you say, well, Adam, I'm not hearing about the Fed intervening in the real estate markets. Well, you don't directly, but you certainly are hearing about it in other ways. They buy mortgage-backed securities. The PPP loan, for instance, goes right to employees of companies who are still able to pay their salaries even when they're not productive. Those funds go right into mortgage payments. You've got forbearance, which we've talked about ad nauseum, that allows people to stay in their homes. And what all of this together means is that much of the central bank's action in terms of helping what they would call Main Street, or average Americans like you and me, their main focus is in real estate. So those folks who are just renting and saying, hey, I want to get out of real estate and rent my way through this process. Well, I have to warn you, number one, you don't get to take advantage of the low risk and the inflation proof and the ability to get into other currencies, but instead you open yourself up to trouble with all of those. And in addition to that, you don't get to benefit from all the Fed stimulus. So if you believe things are getting better, then real estate's a great way to go. If you think things are getting worse, then you probably also believe that the Fed will continue to intervene. And if they do, it's a pretty safe bet that they're going to continue to intervene in real estate. Now, we can talk about whether or not that's a good thing in the long term, and those are maybe topics for future Modern Minutes. But I do want you to know this is happening. This is the environment we're in. We're in an environment supported by where central banks support the real estate market, directly and indirectly. So continue to be savvy about that. Continue to think about it that way. Continue to watch the markets, understand what's going on, and we're going to continue to do all we can to help you interpret what's happening around you. In the meantime, I just want to say thanks again for all the encouragement we get, all the folks checking in saying, hey, where's my Modern Minute? Or those saying, keep it up, asking questions. Help us to hone our message and to cater it to what you want to hear about. I want to apply what we talk about as much as possible to some of the things that are on your mind. So I thank you again. I hope you're well. I want to tell you now, in these strange times with cities on fire and other strange things going on, hear me when I say, God bless you. I hope you're well. Talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.